It's happening! I can't believe that this day is finally here. It's taken me hours and hours of work to get this video together for you guys and for myself really. So if you guys want to see me rank all of the palettes that I tried in the year 2023, then just keep watching. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome. My name is KARENHARRIS. I like to film tan girl friendly makeup videos, especially indie makeup. So you're going to see a lot of indie eyeshadow palettes today. If all of that sounds interesting, highly recommend subscribing, turning on that bell so you don't miss out when I post. And if you could do me one more favor and watch this video all the way to the end, it really helps me out. And without further blabbering, let's get into it. Okay, I've been trying to hold this cardboard box off screen while I was filming my intro. But I just want to say, first of all, thank you guys for hanging with me. I definitely planned to get this video done sooner, but there were a few obstacles in my way, so I really appreciate the encouragement to still get this video done. I feel like I'm late every year, so I'm hoping 2024 is the year where I actually post my rankings video, at least in December or January. I was really hoping to get this video up before January ended, but it is what it is, you know, go with the flow. It's not that deep, but I'm excited to show you guys all of the palettes. Now, a few disclaimers. I don't have every single palette I tried in 2023 because I've already decluttered some palettes. I was also going to include mini palettes, but honestly, just ranking the ones I ranked was daunting enough. So yeah, I decided to exclude mini palettes. Hopefully you guys aren't too bummed about it. There are some really great Natasha Denona mini eyeshadow palettes, but the rest I'm like, ugh, I just didn't want to deal with it. So I decided to keep all of the smaller palettes out. The other thing is also that I ranked these basically based off of how excited I was about the palettes. So like the top 15 is like solid, right? Like some of my favorite palettes from 2023. There's a lot of like meh, and this is like so boring parts to this video, so hang in there. Maybe put this on in the background while you're cleaning the house, because that's what I do all day. I literally listen to YouTube while I go about my day constantly. So yeah, this might be just background noise for you guys, but it's a little bit boring. There's a lot of like meh palettes in 2023 for me once I really went back and thought about it. So those are all the disclaimers. Oh, one more thing. We have a live studio guest, of course. She's with me. So if you hear any baby noises, if you hear the movie Brave playing in the background, that's what I gotta do to get this done. So thank you for listening. Let's go ahead and dive in. So I ranked 110 palettes if my sticky note system did not go awry. And in the 110th spot is the Too Faced Maple Syrup Pancakes palette. I really think I bought this palette for this one shade called Morning Matcha, and I really don't know why, because I have shades like this in dozens of palettes, so I must have been, I don't know, let's just blame it on like pregnancy brain, mom brain, temporary delusions of grandeur. I don't know, but I bought this palette, and when I look at it now, I'm like, gosh, this is the ugliest palette I've seen in a hot second. So that's why it's in the number 110 spot. Okay, in 109 is the Too Faced Cosmic Crush palette. Yes, I'm going to be picking on Too Faced this year. It is what it is. Another palette that I literally bought for one shade, it was this one called Hypernova. It's not even like it's a multi-chrome. It's just like a blackened green metallic shadow, and it totally got me. I was so curious, so I bought it. Again, a very just mediocre palette from Sephora / Too Faced. Like when you go into Sephora, you're gonna find Too Faced, but yeah, it's a bit of a snooze. So you can just imagine what's gonna end up in my declutters on my Poshmark. Okay, in 108 is another palette. I actually put this in my worst of bin of 2023. So this is the Italian Spritz. I will say this one has a more promising color story and that beautiful tin packaging. And I've actually had decent luck with some of these palettes, but this one I just didn't feel like performed as well as some of the previous palettes, specifically the ones they launch around holiday. So I was a bit disappointed by this one. And so I was like, well, I'm ranking the other two at the bottom. So let's just throw in the Italian Spritz too, okay? That was my genuine thought. And if you want to fight me about it, like, that's totally fine. We can fight about it in the comments, I guess. Okay, so this one is a bit controversial. 107. I'm going to give it to the Sigma and Anne Nook collaboration. I do like how they made this palette look like it belongs in like a pro artist kit. But other than that, I really don't love when brands mix neutrals and colorful shadows. And I feel like the thing with these is they're so stark compared to the neutrals. Like, they're not exactly like a blue and a purple that would go with these shades. They're just like a blue, a purple. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with these when the shimmers are all neutral shades except for this one white shimmer shade. So overall, I wasn't really in love with it. I feel like Sigma does better palettes, and therefore I'm ranking it at 107. Okay, I'm also gonna hate on a lot of all shimmer palettes in this video, so prepare yourself, okay? I'm just trying to warn everyone so I don't get yelled at. This is 106. I just am so over this brand. I don't think it's anything they've done. I'm just so over it. I decluttered so many of their palettes. This is the Butterfly Vibes palette from Give Me Glow Cosmetics. I just don't understand. I feel like they're trying new things. I don't really know. They really tried hard to change their identity, going from these big pans to small pans, but then we had these. I don't know what's going on at Give Me Glow. I don't know if they're continuing down this road, but I feel like I've seen them do so much better with their cardboard packaging. And overall, this just reminds me of Makeup Revolution, not an indie brand. And so I just don't have time for it. So it's 106. You see my handy dandy post-it method. Again, I'm not really sure what's going on with SugarDrizzle. Haven't seen them come out with anything in a while, but this is their Man I Love Frogs palette. Super cute. Nothing wrong with it. Great way to get some affordable multi-chromes if you're balling on a budget. I just really want to see brands create color stories with a mix of mattes and shimmers. Now, if you like all shimmer palettes, that's totally fine. There was definitely a time where I was really into all shimmer palettes as well. So it is what it is. Sometimes people change their mind and that's perfectly fine. It is just colorful dust. So yeah, that is in 105. And then in 104, I have another SugarDrizzle one. This is the Don't Forget to Smile palette. Again, beautiful shimmer shades, but I feel like they have better curated color stories. So you'll see those, you know, higher in the rankings, but that is 104. Another brand, I'm really not sure what's going on. I read an Instagram post where somebody said that nobody's heard from them. I don't really know if they're shipping out their orders from their library palette that they did. I haven't heard anything from them. I'm an affiliate of the brand, but again, I haven't heard from them and I haven't really had the time to, you know, check up on them. But if you guys have any updates on Shroud Cosmetics, let me know. This is the Peaches and Dreams palette. You guys know generally how I feel about pastels, so I'm sure not many of you are surprised, but this is in the spot 103. Okay, in 102 is another pastel palette from one of my favorite indie brands. So this is the Lethal Cosmetics 2-Up palette, and it is definitely a palette that is for a specific person. I don't think I'm that specific person. There's some beautiful shades in here, but I just can't with this packaging. I think if you're really into retro games, you might be more interested in this, but I will say this is probably one of the worst releases they've come out with, in my opinion, but I think the packaging is cool. I just I just don't like that extra empty space. And, you know, you guys know I don't love pastels. So for that reason, it is where it is. 101 goes to the Cloud 9 palette from ColourPop. They did send me this one, and I feel like I don't really have to say too much. I feel like I really base these rankings on palettes that bored me to palettes that like knock my socks off. I couldn't wait to get them on my eyes, so I feel like this one explains itself. Also, I forgot to mention that some of these palettes were sent to me, so just keep that in mind. Typically, a lot of my affiliate brands, I do get palettes sent to me. Some I do by myself as well. Just want to provide that. Does not affect how I rank things because my loyalty is to my subscribers always. So I just want to mention that as well. Another brand that sent me their product that I'm ranking a little bit low. This is 100. It's the Game Beauty Elements collection. They launched 5 of these palettes. I don't think I tried every single one. I honestly can't remember. But I did try Dendro and Pyro. And these are just okay. Again, the green one's probably my favorite, but nothing that's knocking my socks off, just monochromatic palettes. And I get that every brand has to make them for their line, but when I look at my overall collection, it's nothing I particularly needed. Okay, this one, I feel like people are gonna riot, but this is how I feel. I looked at this palette and I looked at some of the other neutral palettes that I'm ranking way higher, and I was like, I just don't feel any joy when I look at this palette. So this is the Blend Bunny Forget Me Not palette, and it's supposed to be a face and eye palette. It honestly has beautiful metallics, but I don't really like this as a face palette, and I just have so many other Blend Bunny palettes that excite me so much more. So I'm ranking it at number 99. Okay, in 98th place is this palette, another one that just bores me to tears. This is the Friday the 13th palette from Glamlite. I honestly thought this one would be my favorite, but it's so dull. And if the metallics at least had like some kind of duochrome effect to it, I think it would have helped a little bit. But overall, this palette just makes me want to take a nap. So it's in the 98th spot. Okay, 97, another favorite brand of mine. This is Natasha Denona's Love Face Palette. I have her Glam Face Palettes. I have both of them, and I absolutely love them. I just don't feel like this had the same quality when it came to the eyeshadows. I also don't love pink blush, so it was very easy for me to rank this lower than my other favorite makeup. In 96th place is more Glamlite makeup that I thought was so boring. So these are their Nightmare on Elm Street palettes, right? Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street palettes. I just ranked them together. I just feel like this is so boring, and they have their Betty Boop collection coming out, and I'm like, is that also gonna go with these same kind of boring reds again and again and again? But I feel like the Betty Boop palette does have some duochromes, so I'm hoping that they will start redeeming themselves because their Garfield palette was so good. And so I have hope there. But these two, I feel like, other than it being a horror collab and everybody being excited about that, I just didn't love them that much. Okay, in 95th place, another palette that I kind of just felt was very boring is the Sydney Grace Unbreakable Bond palette. Now, Sydney Grace has the most beautiful formula, so I love it when they do eyeshadow palettes like this because I think this is where their strengths are. They make beautiful neutral palettes for people that love to wear neutral eyeshadows. I feel like the quality of their eyeshadows stands up to brands like Natasha Denona and Pat McGrath, like really beautiful shimmer shadows, and you're supporting a really small business, so that's lovely. But overall, I just feel like this color story doesn't entice me, so that's why I ranked it at 95. Okay, at 94, another kind of controversial brand. This is Clarity Cosmetics. They sent me this in PR. I think this might be the first thing they ever sent me, but I've seen so many posts about their eyeshadows breaking, and I've definitely experienced it as well with palettes that I bought with my own money. So I'm not really sure if they've gotten a solution for that or not. I did see they're potentially launching something for Valentine's Day, so I got my eyes peeled on that. We'll see what the collection looks like, but overall I'm just very on the fence about this brand, so you guys will have to let me know how you feel. Okay, another palette. Oh my gosh, I love Sydney Grace. I promise this is in the 93rd spot. It is their Heaven on Earth palette. I'm telling you guys, I have wanted Sydney Grace to do colorful palettes like this for so long, but I really wanted them to do their version of the Tarte, what was it, that April Fool's like dupe they did a bundle with dupes for the Tarte April Fool's Icy Bitch, I think it was called, and those were like beautiful vibrant mattes in blues and greens. This is definitely more of that cool tone, grungy, you know, under the sea, maybe under a shipwreck kind of shade. So I usually love jewel tones, but I don't know, this palette is just a little too grungy for me. So I ranked it at number 93. Next we have a palette. Again, I did not hold back, okay? This is number 92. It's a pastel palette. So Delicious Delights by Cosmic Brushes. There was a purple shade in this palette that I think mine was just faulty. It was the shade Charms, and I thought I had pressed it back in, but as you can see, it like shattered. I need to clean it up. It was kind of a hot mess. This is one of my favorite indie brands. Trust me, there are other eyeshadow palettes ranked much higher, but this one was just not my favorite, and therefore, I ranked it appropriately, in my opinion. Okay, this one, I don't really have words. This is the Milk palette. I can't remember what it was called. It is the Electric palette. I think this was the one they did for $4.20, right? I thought this was cute. I really did, but I'm ready for Milk to like really spice it up. So I would love to see their next palette to have some kind of multi-chrome aspect, just something a little bit more interesting. So this is palette number 91. Okay, in 90th place, I have the Oden collab that they did with Betty Jean. It's the Planet Spirit palette. In my mind, I think she had done two kind of grungier palettes with Shroud, so she wanted to bring something bright and airy and fun. My only gripe with this is that there's no deepening up shade in here, but of course I love this green combo, so beautiful palette from her and Oden's Eye. Number 89 is from SugarDrizzle. This is their Plumerian Dragon palette. I think this is a cute palette. Again, I like and appreciate a brand doing a mix of mattes and shimmers. Only gripe with this one is I wish there were some lighter shades so you had more contrast, because a lot of these pinks are more mid-tone. So I would have loved to see a little bit more variety, but a very good attempt with this palette, and I also really like this packaging. Okay, number 88 kind of explains itself, right? Like, it's only ranking at 88 because it's Natasha Denona and she has decent quality. Other than that, it's kind of a snooze fest. I'm telling you guys, I did not hold back. 87 is the Angles of Illumination palette by Bella Beaute Bar. You guys know this is one of my favorite indie brands of the moment, and I love them so much, but 2023 was their year, you guys. They had some amazing Halloween launches. So to me, an all shimmer palette wasn't as amazing as some of their other ones. So bear with me because you'll see the other palettes. But yeah, this is 87. Sorry. Okay, in 86th place is the Moonfall palette from Shroud. This one is ranking higher because I like this color story. It's very grungy and it's very Shroud. Okay, 84 is the Culture 2 palette from Juvia's Place. Just a giant rainbow palette with some multi-chromes. So it is beautiful and it's something you can get at Ulta. So I definitely don't want to knock it too much because if you want to try a black-owned indie brand, they're a great place to start. Number 84 goes to the Sunset Beach palette between NBA Cosmetics and Deanna Nicole. She recently did a collab with Bella Beaute Bar, And so I think this was her first collaboration palette. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I really think this is a beautiful color story. I just feel like the Bella Beaute bar formula is superior. So that's why I'm ranking this at number 84. I feel like ranking this palette at number 83 is actually a huge compliment to this brand. This is the Urban Decay Metal Mania palette. And I don't really know why I bought this palette. I think I was just curious about it. And the formula is really good. I haven't felt a formula like this from Urban Decay in a hot second. So I really wanted to give them a huge shout out for that. So that's why I dropped the brush, but that's fine. But that's why I'm ranking it so high at 83. Really hoping to see some improvement in the Urban Decay eyeshadow formula in 2024. A girl can dream, right? Okay, number 82 is the Dragon Eye palette from What's Up Beauty. I heard this palette went viral on TikTok, and I really hope that people are enjoying this. I think it's a beautiful palette. It has a beautiful shimmery shadow in it, and all the shimmers are actually really pretty in this. My only gripe with this one is I love seeing some colorful mattes with colorful shimmers. So I really wish they had turned it up a notch and included something colorful. This packaging is so amazing. I mean, it just reminds me so much of Game of Thrones. I don't know, maybe that's silly of me, but very, very beautiful packaging. Okay, 81 is the Tarte Maneater palette. Again, I think this is a really nice palette if you find it at a Sephora or Ulta. I think this is one of their better holiday releases because they do all these little kits and sets and way too much of junk. So I think the palette is a nice addition for their holiday lineup because I think it's a very giftable palette. I did like the 2022 eyeshadow palette a little more than this one, but overall I'm not mad at it. Okay, again, I told you guys, the all shimmer palettes are just getting called out. So this is the Deep Sea Treasure palette from Clionadh. Again, I love the stained glass shadows. I think these are beautiful. I just wish that Clionadh did more curated color stories with a mix of mattes and shimmers and stained glass shadows, because their mattes are really good. Like, I have a lot of their matte singles as well. So hopefully in 2024, I know they showed us the Archeo and Paleo palettes, and I think when those launched originally, they were all shimmer palettes, but I'm hopeful that we might get a mix of both. I'm not sure, so we'll see what's in store for us. Okay, I'm wearing an Adept palette on my eyes today, but this Adept palette, again, a all shimmer palette, 79 spot. I can't remember how much I paid for this, but I feel like this was the most expensive of Adept's palettes from 2023. I don't regret it because I do enjoy collecting Adept's eyeshadow palettes. I'm totally going to buy their one that's launching. Hopefully this video will come out sometime this weekend. The Flying Fiddles palette, I think that's what it's called. Totally going to buy that one. But I'm just over all shimmer palettes. It's nobody's fault but myself, but 79 for this one. 78 is the Bless palette from Sydney Grace and Glitzy Fritzy. This is a beautiful palette. Again, I think I accidentally dropped this one, so we had a bit of a casualty here. But this is definitely a step in the right direction for Sydney Grace. Adding a little bit of color, getting a little bit bold. I believe Glitzy Fritzy is a woman that focuses on mature skin. I think she's over 50, and I love that she included color because a lot of the times I hear women say I'm too old to wear color, or I'd look so wild if I wore color, or definitely just are anxious about wearing color. And I always want to encourage women to try if they're interested. Even yesterday I was at an event and I heard from somebody saying I could never wear that because I was wearing a very bold green eyeshadow look, and I was like, you totally could. Like, there's so many YouTubers, content creators, influencers, beauty YouTubers that have very different skin tones that also wear color. So don't ever feel discouraged because you have a lighter skin tone or a deeper skin tone. Anyone can wear color as long as you are, you know, bold and fierce and rock it with confidence. Nobody's gonna question it. Okay, I feel like I need to say I love Bella Beaute Bar, but this palette, I mean, it is beautiful. Some parts of it are so up my alley, like right here. This could be such a beautiful like Valentine's look. The rest, you know, it's a little bit of a snoozy fest. I will say, looking at it now, it reminds me a little bit of the Cold Moon palette from Ensley. So if you've been wanting to try that one, maybe check this one out if you already own this. Overall, I mean, it's great quality. I just felt like the color story was kind of meh. So it's in the 77th spot. 76 is the Scooby-Doo and Glamlite palette. This one, honestly, I kind of rank lower because I hate this packaging. I just do. I love that they tried to give the fans like as much Scooby-Doo as they could, but I just hate this extra room between each of the columns. It's so annoying. I really wish they had made this palette like half the size, but who's asking me, right? So yeah, that's that. Number 75, I actually do think this is one of the better horror palettes that Glamlite did in 2023. Definitely the one I was most surprised by. I feel like when you're doing a palette like this with lots of cool tones, it's fun to have these like really interesting duochrome type shadows. So I think that's really what redeemed this palette and set it apart from all of their other horror palettes they did last year. Okay, in 74th place is the Haunted palette from Gourmand Girls. And the reason I'm ranking this at 74 is I felt like they had 3 palettes that were pretty similar. So I had to do it. I had to rank them somehow. So this one is at 74. 73 was actually a favorite neutral palette that I tried in 2023, but I ranked it lower because it's a ripoff of another high-end makeup brand. So I feel like you're basically copying somebody's homework. I'm not going to give you like a higher ranking than that, but if you're balling on a budget, 73, this Mirage palette from Alter Ego is like $25. And I think the quality is amazing. So if you're balling on a budget, you might want to check it out. 72 is a tough one because Oden's Eyes holiday collections are always my favorite. But I feel like in 2023, they kind of dropped the ball a little bit on the color story. These ones pair really well with their 2022 launch, which I honestly think is why they launched the 2022 collection again. But this is the Hey Reindeer palette. And I just didn't love this color story as much. 71 is the Komodo palette from Clarity. I thought this had a muted but fun color story, so that's why I'm ranking it at 71. Number 70 is another Oden's Eye palette. This is the Sea Talk palette with Lauren May Beauty. I felt like this had a more cohesive color story than Betty Jean's palette because you had a neutral quad, you had a blue quad, and then you had these 2 fun like inner corner shades, which were a signature from Lauren May Beauty. She always had like the fun pink inner corner. So I totally see her in this palette and I feel like it's very well thought out. 69 goes to the Cosmos palette from ABH. I think this is a beautiful, very like magical, ethereal palette. 68 is another Melt palette. This is the Halloween Town palette they did. I just thought the other color story from the Christmas Town was more fun and up my alley, so I'm ranking this at 68. 67 is the Berry Icy palette from Simply Posh Cosmetics. This one reminded me of another palette that they did. I think this is so beautiful. And of course, you can always pick whichever one speaks to you the most, but I just think they had better color stories, so I'm ranking this at 67. This is the Lethal Cosmetics something flower. I can't remember if it was like Night Flower or Wildflower, but this palette is beautiful. I just wish it had more deepening up shades or just more contrast. We do have this dark blue. It looks really dark, but on the eye, it doesn't look that dark. So I'm ranking it at 66. 65 is another ABH palette. I think this is beautiful. It's very sultry. This is the Fall Romance palette. I just wish it had a little bit more contrast. We have this one light shade called Moonlight, but it's a metallic, so they would have really benefited from a light matte shade in this palette as well. Okay, 64 is a curated color story from SugarDrizzle, and I really like this one. It's their Mojito palette. I think this was like a summer launch. It has just 3 simple matte shades, but they work really well with all the beautiful metallics they put in this one. So I think this is like my favorite SugarDrizzle palette they've done very recently. Okay, technically these are all separate palettes, but I'm just ranking the Beaute palettes, the floral collection, in the 63rd spot. I just felt like this was easier to do. The quality of these is great. I think my favorite was the Begonia, and then Cala, Fleur, and then probably Flora last. This is a beautiful like yellow leaning neutral palette, but I thought Cala was really pretty. It was like a more cool tone neutral palette. The formula on these are amazing. A lot of people really didn't like the skinny pans. I don't love it either. I would have preferred they stick to their square pans, but you know, never hurts to try something new, I guess, question mark. Okay, number 62 goes to the Glaminatrix. This is the Sugar and Spice palette. I think this is such a cute palette. Definitely gives me the ice cream cone feeling, but I wish these neutral shades had been warm neutrals and not cool tone neutrals, but I get it. It was the year of cool tone in 2023, so I get it, but I had to go with my gut, so it's at number 62. Okay, number 61 is the Gourmand Girls collab with Surya Soto. I think they did such a fun job with this palette, and just a fun way to highlight a very important cause. So yeah, I'm happy with ranking this at 61. Now, before I show you number 60, we're almost halfway. So leave me a pink heart if you made it to number 60. I want to see how many of you watch this video all the way to the end. So take a second, leave me a pink heart emoji if you can. In 60th place is the Rich Romantics palette from Glaminatrix Cosmetics. A beautiful, really beautiful romantic pink purpley dual multi-chromey palette. So that's why it's in 60th place. Okay, I actually thought this was a really nice makeup palette from ColourPop. They did send this one to me. It is the Smoking Hot palette, and it is kind of a more updated version of the infamous Morphe 35O palette, but I really like this. I thought it was really, really fun. 58 goes to this cutie from Unearthly. Kind of a different color story, but I still feel like it's like pastel-y but grungy. I mean, Amanda always nails it. So this is the Spaced Out palette from the small size Summer Mystery Boxes. I don't know if their Summer Mystery Boxes are still available, but if they are, you can check out my video, of course, if you want to pick that up. And they do have a second pre-order open for their Valentine's mystery box. So if you're interested, highly recommend getting on that, because I don't know if they'll do a third pre-order. And this one's been open for quite some time, so I have a feeling that once everybody gets their orders in with this one, they probably won't do another pre-order. Okay, in 57th place is the Warlock palette from Fantasy Cosmetica. Such a fun color story. They did some really good launches this year as well. I'm so excited to see what else they have in store for us in 2024. An amazing indie brand, and I feel like they're just getting better and better, which is so impressive. I wish I could say that this brand is getting better and better, but honestly, this might be my last mothership unless we get something that's gonna knock my socks off. So this is the Mothership Sunlit Seduction Mothership 11. In retrospect, I'm not really sure why I bought this other than to keep my Mothership collection in like tag. But yeah, overall, this was kind of a snoozy. I mean, if I'd never tried a Pat McGrath palette, I feel like I would be impressed. But at this point, she's gonna need to do a little bit more to win my heart, okay? And those quads she's been coming out with has not helped. Okay, in 55th place is the Afro Galactic palette from Juvia's Place. Like, this color story is stunning. I think this palette should get way more hype than it got, but I feel like Juvia's Place, their PR is a miss. Like, they need to get more people on PR. I don't know if I just don't see it because I'm not on TikTok, but these brands need to keep up. Like, I still feel like YouTube is important and they still should be giving YouTube creators palettes as well. I've heard from many business owners that YouTube still drives the most sales for brands. So I hope that makeup brands don't get caught up in the TikTok frenzy and then like forget about the creators that help them kick off. But I don't know, I feel like Juvia's Place should do a little bit better about their PR. Okay, 54 is the matte palette, the Best Mattes palette from Bella Beaute Bar. Again, this is a beautiful palette, but you guys know me, if I'm going to shade the all shimmer palettes, I gotta shade the all matte palette too. I think this one was just designed to be used and mixed and matched, and for people that love to create their own eyeshadow palettes, like just create fun color stories. I like to have this just in my back pocket to whip out when I want a shade that I'm missing in another eye look. I do think this palette has its place in my collection. I just wanted to, you know, give my flowers, is that what they say? I wanted to give flowers to the palettes I was like obsessed with last year. Okay, Poor Little Snowman is at number 53 from Oden's Eye. Again, I just really thought this palette was cute, a little bit more muted, but I did like this better than the Hey Reindeer palette because it was more Christmassy. And then in 52nd place is the Glamlite and Garfield palette. I thought this was really cute, honestly. It's a great neutral palette with a twist. So if you ever happen to find yourself on the Glamlite website, I would highly recommend checking this palette out. It's actually really good. Okay, number 51 is the classic Autumn palette from DD's Signature. So 2023, DD's Signature came back. They shut down, I think, a few years ago, and I wasn't expecting that they'd make a comeback, but I'm so happy to see them back in the space. They are a Black-owned small business, so that makes me so happy. And this is a beautiful palette for the fall time. If you guys are interested in checking them out, please do. I just wish that DD would update her packaging. I think that's like the one thing I would really like to see them do better in 2024. So if you made it to the 50th palette, take a moment, leave me a green heart emoji so I know you've made it this far. I'm so curious to see how many green hearts we can see in the comment section. So my 50th palette is the La Cienega palette from Adept. Now this is one of their more neutral palettes, but they're launching that Flying Fiddles palette, and that's definitely more up my alley. This one has some beautiful shimmers, but the mattes, I feel like they are just so boring. I'm so sorry. They're just so boring. That's all I got. 49 is the Jingle Bell Ruby palette from DD Signature. Love the color story. Again, I just wish they would do something about their packaging. It's just not my favorite. Like, the component is great, but I would love to see something a little bit more custom on the front. Their quality is nice. I think they have really fun, beautiful, sparkly shadows. So if you're balling on a budget, I would highly recommend checking them out. Okay, number 48 is the Fighter palette from Fantasy Cosmetica. I did rank a few of the neutral palettes that launched last year, kind of in this middle section, so you'll probably see a few more. This is a great 9-pan palette if you're in the market for a kind of cool tone neutral palette. 47 is the Cozy Cabin palette from Simply Posh Cosmetics. I think this is one of their really nice color stories. I think it's like a half neutral, half kind of green blue palette. Definitely muted and perfect for the holidays. Number 46 is the Sugar and Grunge palette from Blend Bunny. I don't love a lot of pastel-y palettes, but I think since they included that row of kind of deepening up shades, that really redeemed it for me. Okay, number 45 is the Full Fantasy palette from Laura Lee Los Angeles and Lunar Beauty. I think this is a beautiful neutral palette. Another great neutral palette is this one from Ace Beaute. This is the Smoky Roses palette. I think the quality in this is amazing. A little bit of a different neutral palette. This is the Pretty Grunge palette from Huda Beauty. This is number 43. So I stuck this rainbow palette from Unearthly in between the neutral palettes. This is the Get Groovy palette, and this was part of their large summer mystery box. The quality is perfection. And if you've been watching some of the other indie YouTube creators on this platform, that love Unearthly just as much as I do. A lot of them have been mentioning how much they love this new concept of the rectangular packaging, and I do too. I'm such a fan, so lovely to see so many palettes from them. Number 41 is the Gothic palette from Cosmic Brushes. I think this is a beautiful purple monochromatic palette. Now, if this was a green monochromatic palette, it would probably be bumped up a couple of tens up, but purple, I mean, it's definitely growing on me. I really do enjoy wearing purples, pinks, and reds, but this one is just a slight one-trick pony in my opinion. Okay, number 40 is the Nightshade palette from Gourmand Girls. This is beautiful. I love these greens. This one called Hellebore is so pretty. Beautiful purples, just a fun mix of shades if you're interested. Number 39 is the Sun and the Sea palette from Bella Beaute Bar. This is a beautiful palette. It has some beautiful duochromes in it. I feel like I'm kind of over the neutrals and the blue color story. It's been done a lot. So that's why I'm ranking it a little bit lower, but the quality is amazing. And I couldn't stay away from it because I love Bella Beaute Bar so much. I did buy this one with my own money. Number 38, another beautiful pastel palette from Blend Money Cosmetics. It's the Sickly Sweet palette. I really love this one because if I wanted to make a tan girl friendly pastel palette, this is exactly what I would do. I would include some deepening up shades so you can customize the colors a little bit because pastels don't always work with my undertones, so I love this one from Blend Money. Here is my Melt Cosmetics Christmas Town palette. I'm ranking it at number 37. I just really like the eye look I did with this one. I created a green look and it was so stunning. So yeah, I was like, you know, let's give Melt just a little bit of hype this year. 36 is the Muse palette from Cosmic Brushes. This is a really beautiful neutral palette with a twist. I think it's a little bit more muted than what I like, so that's why I ranked it a little bit lower. Number 35 is the Devour palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. This was their Halloween mystery box, I believe, but they did end up selling the palette on its own. I don't know if you can still pick this up, but it's a gorgeous purple and green palette if you are a green and purple fan, which of course you guys know I love green eyeshadow. I'm wearing it on my eyes right now. So great quality from Unearthly. Number 34, I've been waiting for Sigma to do for like 4 years. Well, technically this is year 4 because they've done other Disney collaborations before this. My favorite Disney movie is definitely Beauty and the Beast, so it was a dream come true to see this collection come to fruition. And I just thought it was cute. Like, it does have a lot of neutral shades, but it's got some beautiful like mauves over there, and I love the shade Beast. I love that dark blue. I think it was a fun addition. Really pretty packaging. I think Sigma always nails their Disney collections. Number 33 goes to Amanda and her palette with Oden's Eye. This is the Flora Story palette. I feel like Amanda did what she does best, and she made colorful shadows approachable. She gave us some beautiful muted purples and greens. And I believe this one sold out on its own, so you can only purchase this in the bundle now. So if you're eyeing these palettes, go ahead and pick them up now before they sell out. But she did an amazing job, so congratulations. 32 is another neutral palette with a twist. This is the Okawango Safari palette from Nomad Cosmetics, one of my favorite indie brands. I just think every palette they do is so special. And I really feel like they've been on an upward trend with their color stories. So very, very happy with Nomad, and this is such a fun palette. So I think this was Lethal Cosmetics' best launch of 2023. This is their... Ooh, I'm blanking. Is it called Midnight something? I'm so sorry, but they don't put the names on the palette, and I'm struggling right now. But I think this is such a pretty palette. Again, it's a neutral palette with some fun pops of color in the shimmer shades. And yeah, I think there are a lot of really pretty neutral palettes that launched in 2023. 31 is a indie brand that I feel like I can't wait to see what they do this year. It is the Obsessions palette from Artitude. They sent me this one in PR, and Honestly, the pigmentation of these shadows is glorious. I really can't wait to see what they do. The metallics are stunning. I love that like creamy metallic formula, and this palette has it. So if you haven't heard of the brand Artitude, they are a UK-based indie brand, and I'm totally rooting for them in 2024. I know I've kind of shit on Glamlite this whole time, but I did give a honorable mention to the Chucky collection that they did for Valentine's. And how much of a full circle moment is it that Valentine's is upon us again, and they're doing a Betty Boop collection, which is a total 180 from this one. So I'm very excited to see how that collection turns out. If I enjoy it or if I hate it, I'll definitely be reviewing it for you guys. But this one definitely was an unexpected palette from them. And since this was their more grungy palette that they had done in a while, like one of the first, it really stood out. But again, I think it got a little stale on the horror last year, but that's just one person's opinion, okay? Now, in 29th place, this palette is from one of my favorite brands that I tried in 2023. This is the Ensley Lands of Enchantment palette. Oh my gosh, you guys know I don't love pastels, but this palette has the most glorious special shadows, so I don't even really care about the mattes that much. I am totally here for the shimmers in this palette. It's gorgeous, it's glorious. I just want to like sink into this palette and just bask in the glory of it. So yeah, that is why it's in the 29th spot. Number 28 is the Unearthly Surrender palette. I think this is such a beautiful like half neutral, half like red, pink, purple palette. This was from their Valentine's 2023 mystery box. So I think this is absolutely stunning. I'm already getting ideas for palette suggestions for Valentine's 2024 every time I open one of these up, but this is so gorgeous. I think Amanda's such a genius the way she lays out her palettes. Everything can be like combined as a quad. So if you are ever like, oh my god, what should I wear? I think she pairs shades well together. All of these could either be worn as duos, as quads, as, you know, six pans. Like she really lays it out well. So this is a gorgeous palette. Number 27 is another Valentine's palette. This is the Nomad Verona launch, and this was their Shakespeare-inspired palette, which is like half love and half death, Romeo and Juliet, the whole thing. I love all of that for me. I'm such a Shakespeare nerd. So this was a gorgeous palette, and that's why it's at number 27. Number 26 goes to the beautiful Rogue palette from Fantasy Cosmetica. I love this color story. It's a little bit more curated, more up my alley. The Warlock one has some fun shades to it, but I kind of love this like grunginess that they give us here. And then the Fighter palette was more neutral, so I didn't think that it was as unique, but this one is really cool. Number 25 goes to the Rick and Morty collection from Glamlite. I feel like they did so many IP collabs that it's easy to forget, but this was a fun rainbow palette from them. Very bright, very colorful. And honestly, sometimes I love a big giant colorful palette like this, and the packaging is great, so they really nailed it with this one. Okay, number 24 is the Glaminatrix Into the Night palette. I just thought this was such a fun color story from them. I also think this is a great palette where you could break it up into quads. So I did create a look with this quad and this quad, and I had a lot of fun with this palette. So number 24, we're getting close, we're getting close. Number 23 is the beautiful Aurora Lights palette from Simply Posh Cosmetics. I think this is such a fun color story from them. Another brand that I'm excited to see where they go next with their palettes. Those shimmer shades are so stunning. Can't wait to play with that palette some more. This one I feel like is kind of a surprise because it is a influencer, kind of celebrity influencer brand, but I thought the Lunar Beauty Siren Sunset palette was so gorgeous. Oh my goodness, I love this palette. I think it's stunning. I've been so into jewel tones lately, and I just love it. I love it. I know I said I don't love neutrals and colorful shades together, but they did it well because they gave us neutrals, but then they gave us some really fun colorful mattes as well to go with the multi-chrome. So I love it. I think he also killed it with this packaging and really gave us something different, you know. It's not a brand where Manny just expects it to sell because it's Manny's brand. I think he really puts a lot of thought into it. Now, I told you guys that Blend Bunny had so many hits, so don't get mad at me for ranking the Forget Me Not palette that low, because this Lure palette, are you freaking kidding me? Absolutely stunning. Stunning, stunning. I love mermaids, clearly. I love mermaids, and you know I'm a sucker for greens, purples, and blues, and they have it all here, so love this palette so much. Okay, in 20th place, I think I would have ranked this higher if I had more time to spend with this, but this is their Element 115 palette. Look at these colors. They're perfect for spring and summer. I cannot wait to use this palette some more. I think it's so beautiful. And yeah, I just love Adept so much. So had to rank it at number 20. Number 19 is another gorgeous palette from Ensley. It's their Harvest Moon palette. It is a more neutral leaning palette by their standards. The only thing I wish they had done is given me like one light matte and maybe like one lighter multi-chrome type shade, but this whole like Harvest Moon and Cold Moon and Strawberry Moon, like I don't have the Flower Moon. I need to order that one, but that whole collection has been such a fun journey with them. So I have just been enjoying Ensley so much. I cannot wait to see what they do in 2024. I'm sorry if I said that already, but yeah, there's just a few indie brands that I just know they're gonna kill it, and I'm really hoping Ensley is on that list for me in 2024. In 18th place is also another Ensley palette. This is the Mad Hatter palette. Again, I just love these like really, what's the word, chaotic color stories. They inspire me so much. So this palette has to have some of the best packaging from 2023 in my opinion. I love the Cheshire Cat with his creepy looking face. But yeah, they just do such a good job with that. Y'all, today I've been hustling. Oh my goodness. I just was watching my kids and I had like a spare minute and I was like, let me start listing some of the stuff that I have from previous year's declutters. And I guess I found my sweet spot. Like, people love buying $5 makeup, so it just all went. It was wild. It was wild. I'll have to do like a story time video on that on another day, but we're on to number 17. If you can't tell, this is like hours later. It's almost 10 o'clock at night and I'm at number 17, so I just want to get this video over with because it's been on my list of to-dos for a really long time. So number 17 is the Silent Night palette by Gourmand girls. I feel like this one really stood out amongst all the other palettes they did because it was so the opposite of what they did with the Spook palette and the Haunted palette. And I love it. It's a mix of like neutrals as well as some really fun blues. And I love the theme, and it launched around the holidays, so I think this is so cute and they did such a good job with this. Okay, in 16th place is Oden's Eye, and this is the Jewel and Gem palette. I think this is one of the best palettes they did last year, but there's another one that reigns supreme, so I had to get this in the top 20. I don't even love cool tones that much, but if I was gonna reach for a cool tone palette, it's gonna be this one. Okay, friends, it's time for the top 15. So I feel like this is one of the best neutral palettes in my collection and probably in most of you guys' collections as well. I had to pick the I Need a Nude palette from Natasha Denona. Definitely not a palette I needed, but it's so stunning and I'm glad she added this to her collection. Number 14 is my favorite Blend Bunny palette of 2023. It's the Makina palette, and I think some people might find this color story kind of discombobulated, but I had a lot of fun playing with this. I was able to really take my time and work on some different looks, so I was very happy with this one. Another neutral palette with a twist is the number 13 palette, Sorcerer's Smoke from Unearthly. This is so gorgeous. Again, I just love this 12 pan format that they do, so I had to rank this in the top 20. I have nothing but good things to say about the Bejeweled palette from Bella Beaute Bar. I think this was so needed in the beauty community. I feel like so many palettes are geared for light to medium skin tones, and I think that this one is just so beautiful, so pigmented. It has these rich jewel tones and it's absolutely gorgeous. I really feel like 2023 was the year of jewel tones for me, and this palette is gorgeous. Number 11 is this beautiful palette from Nomad Cosmetics. It's Ghost Town USA. Again, another kind of muted jewel tone palette. They did so good this past year and I'm so excited for 2024. Look at this beautiful packaging. It's the muted younger sister of their Haunted Europe palette. And again, I really had a lot of fun playing with this. Okay guys, top 10. Leave me a red heart. Did I already say red? If I already said red, that's fine. Just leave me the rainbow. I don't know, something. Just let me know you made it to the top 10. But in 10th place is the Unearthly Don't Be Jelly palette. I just think this really embodies the cover art. They did such a fun job with this. It's a little bit unexpected, a little bit kooky. I don't know, I just think it's really pretty. Again, she works on those quads so well, or you can use them as duos. They all pair really nicely together. So another stunning palette from Unearthly. Number 9 is another beautiful Nomad palette. I had to give it to the Royal Europe palette. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, there's a theme here. Jewel tones, these beautiful dark mattes with these beautiful multi-chromes. And this packaging, probably, again, some of the best packaging of 2023. So cool. Okay guys, in 8th place, I had to give the honor of 8th place to Ensley Rain Strawberry Moon palette. This is the first palette I think I tried from them. And I was like, oh my gosh, that palette is pricey. What if I don't like it? But I wanted to take a chance. And it's just so fun, so vibrant, so many beautiful special shades. It definitely has me on board with whatever they launch in the next year. I think I'm gonna buy because I've had such good luck with their stuff. Okay, in 7th place, another indie brand that I'm totally rooting for in 2024. This is the recently de-influenced palette. Oh my gosh, again, I love these like fiery multi-chromes that have like the red peachy vibes. This is a stunning kind of fall themed palette. It came out around Halloween and I think the theme is so perfect. Another Halloween launch by Bella Beaute Bar. We're almost to the top 5. This is the 6th palette in my rankings. It's going to the basic Witch palette. This is so cute. It's just a fun mix of purples and some fun greens. And I really like it when they do this 15 pan palette format. So I had to give it the 6th spot. In the 5th place, my current favorite Natasha Denona Midi palette. I gave it to the Yucca palette. This is so gorgeous. This was almost my 2nd palette of the year, but I was like, I gotta rank some indie palettes. I gotta give these indie brands some hype. So I bumped it down to number 5, but it is so pretty, so fun. I really like the eyeliners that launched with this palette as well. I bought all 3 shades, wearing one right now. So one of my favorite collections that Natasha Denona has done. Okay, number 4 is the Winter Wonderland palette by Cosmic Brushes. I mean, look at it. And you guys know I played with with a lot of blue purpley palettes this last year. And I feel like this is just the perfect one because it has a good balance of dark shades, light shades, a good balance of purples and blues. So I feel like everything's like equally matched. Some multi-chromes, some duochromes. The price is right, the quality is great. Everything about this palette is a blue purple lover's dream. So I'm so happy to rank it at number 4. Okay, can you guess my top 3? I bet you can. Number 3 is going to be the Adept Arrow Inspired palette. I really went with my gut this time, you guys. My top 3 palettes are all in that like green realm, and I'm not even gonna apologize for it. So I mean, do we need to swatch this palette? Can you tell I'm so excited for the Flying Fiddle palette? Like, come on, these are so stunning. I did not do a good job of swatching these, but they're these beautiful multi-chrome shadows, so I'm so very excited to have them. Okay, palette number 2 is also another one from Adept. This is Cimmerian Sunset. I'm actually wearing this palette on my eyes today. I did end up mixing it with a few other palettes because I was actually going to film this video yesterday, and I did a look with my number 1 palette and I wasn't able to, so I was like, let me just film with number 2. And so I used the shade Risa on my eyes, and I'll show you some of the mattes I used as well, but I did use this shade in my crease. Overall, just stunning. Really reminds me of the autumn season and fall and the leaves and all the things. I know it's inspired by a drink in Star Trek, but to me, it's just the most perfect fall palette. Okay, so before I tell you guys my number 1 palette, of course, I have to give a big shout out to my 2 besties. Can you believe these 2 badasses? They both launched palettes, so I don't even know where to start, but of course my girl Hella is hanging with me, and she came out with 2 releases from Oden's Eye. So we have the Little Ghost and the Trick or Treat palette. Absolutely stunning. Love them so much. I decided not to rank them because these girls are like my family. I wish I got more chances to see them, but alas, that has not worked out for me. Just the phase of life I'm in, but I'm proudly supporting them in spirit on all of their adventures. So I love my Oden's Eye palettes, and then of course the Resurgence palette from Heather and Unearthly. I'm actually wearing the shade Regeneration in my crease because I wanted a nice light green to go with the Cimmerian Sunset palette, so had to give a mention to Resurgence as well. You will have to pry these out of my cold dead hands because I'm never getting rid of them. I'm so proud of my friends. And now for everyone that's waited so patiently for my number 1 palette, I think this is a bit of a wild card, but I wanted to give it to a palette that just reminds me of me, and that is the Stone and Rock palette from Oden's Eye. I was like, you know what? You love green. Just go for it, babe. Just pick your favorite green eyeshadow palette as your number 1 palette. And honestly, when I played with it yesterday, it reminded me of exactly why I love this palette so much. It has the most beautiful shimmery greens and some gorgeous mattes to pair with it. Great variety of depth. So yeah, I just have nothing but good things to say about this palette. I live for green eyeshadow, so I'm so happy with it, and these are my favorites. So I hope you guys enjoyed my 2023 eyeshadow palette ranking video. I put so much work into this. I know. It's my job. I don't deserve a medal, but between decluttering, trying to get stuff on Poshmark, it has been a while, so I'm glad this video is finally over. If you have any complaints, you can email me at KARENHARRISMakeup@gmail.com. And please do me a favor and leave me a comment down below. It would make my freaking day. And I will see you guys in another video very soon. Bye, friends!